Welcome to Proof of PR, your passport to the world of public relations for teams building on-chain. I'm your host, Kelley Weaver, CEO of Melrose PR, a leading provider of crypto communications and PR strategy, and founder of BITWIRE, the modern newswire reimagined for today's comms professionals. Get ready for an inside look into the future of finance, technology, and entrepreneurship from those driving innovation in our space. Join us as we learn how they generate headlines, cut through the noise, and grow their brand awareness through media placements, press mentions, and thought leadership. These are the stories behind their success. This is Proof of PR.
Kelley Weaver. Kelley.
So many E's.
And it must be frustrating when people spell your name wrong.
I'm used to it by now.
I am not used to people, because my name is in so many places. I am not used to people spelling my name without periods. It's T period J period.
And then everything you spell after that has a capital letter.
Which is fine with me. I'm the end of every sentence.
Yes, you are.
Bam! Already starting with the funny stuff. Quick. Yeah, well, not as quick as Yamaha, the producer. Patrick Yamaha Samaha. Yeah, because my name, if you just put T.J. and no periods, then it's Tudge. My name's not Tudge.
Well, you are one of the most unexpected voices in Bitcoin. Everybody knows you from Deadpool and Silicon Valley, but here you are. You got orange-pilled by the Winklevoss twins.
Well, I do like to say that the Winklevoss twins kind of mentioned Bitcoin. I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, and I really had never heard of it. So we're doing this thing with Bitcoin right now. And I think they were at the beginnings of Gemini really sort of coalescing and becoming what it is now. And which bummer that Google named its AI Gemini.
That is confusing.
When that happened, I was like, come on, Google, you did it again. I had a friend, Brandon Plasters, in Chicago where I started comedy, and he and I met working at Radio Shack. Jealous, don't talk about it. And we had a lot of fun just fucking around at that place. And then I got him a job in IT at the law firm where I was a legal secretary, very masculine job. They let us wear skirts on Fridays.
I'd like to see your resume.
It is chock full of fast food like McDonald's, Radio Shack, and just legal firms working against the people who are personally injured. And so he was building something called Wander Chicago, where he would do businesses, a map of different businesses, and you could rate them and put little notes and things. And he was almost done with the project, and Yelp. So he completely, Google Maps took that idea, and then Yelp kind of built upon it. So it's always tough when you, but the Winklevoss twins sort of, I think, had either launched Gemini or were about to. And they said, we're doing this thing in Bitcoin. Oh, what's that? And they're like, you really should look it up. And so then I kind of went and started reading, and I feel like what I say is that I orange pilled myself. I just went, whoa, you gotta get deeper into this and learn about this. And then down the rabbit hole we always go. And I didn't read the Bitcoin Standard until this is embarrassing, 2 years ago. Because I got into space in 2018, which I thought I was too late. It was already at 8,000. I'd gotten in too late. It would, at the most, one day I could hope that it would get to 25,000. So that wasn't even really a 3x return. But I believed in the philosophy of it. I thought it was so brilliant. And so that's why I say to people who go, well, it's too late.
Yeah.
I go, no. You have to understand it's not too late. It just never is. And so then we bought a little bit of Bitcoin. I wish I would have bought more. That's what everybody feels like. But we bought a respectable amount, and I was so happy about it. Because I also later, do you know what liquid death is?
The water?
The water. I had an opportunity to invest in that, and my agents at this huge agency said, he goes, no, the water space is really crowded. I wouldn't do that. And I said, well, Core just sold to Aquafina for so much money. And he was like, yeah, but there's too many. And if you buy shares and then you're an ambassador, you're just paying yourself basically. I was like, okay, but they're cans. I like the philosophy behind it. And he goes, I advise you not to do it. So I didn't. And then now it's the biggest. But that was a great example of you have to trust your instincts when the philosophy makes sense to you. You can really put yourself behind the meaning that is within it. And so I took the money and I put it into cryptocurrency. And so it ended up being, because it was Bitcoin, like a way, way better investment than liquid death, is what I tell myself over and over and over again. It's my mantra in the morning. But the reason I put the money that I would have put into Bitcoin is because I believed in the philosophy. So I sort of orange pilled myself. And we were at dinner, the twins, and then me and Kate kind of perked up and was interested, but then her interest wasn't piqued. But she was sort of going, that's interesting, I'll look into that. And then once I started really learning about it, it's so funny. I feel like this is the case with certain partners. Are you this to Hunter, which is one person is like the serious Bitcoin, database of knowledge, but you end up being the Cliff Notes, giving the Cliff Notes to your partner because they don't want to learn about.
Yes, that is me. But he's like, I've always been incredibly supportive. Like he gets cast aside as not as interested in Bitcoin. That's not true. Like he's fully supportive, but he's like, we have to diversify a little bit. Yeah,
right. Exactly. And you're like, yeah, we'll buy Bitcoin and then we can buy more Bitcoin. So I think let's diversify like that.
Exactly.
But
Coinbase shares or something.
Right. Exactly. Some sort of something. And then I'll say to people, they'll go, well, how much of your money is in traditional equities and how much is in cryptocurrency? And I say, well, actually, it's sort of 50-50. I mean, not right now. Yikes. Hovering at 70,000, praying not to go below 60. But in general, it's about half and half. And somebody goes, that's insane. Why don't you diversify? I go, no, that's not how it started. I didn't build to that by putting, it's my cryptocurrency portfolio, which is just Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's not, I probably own $180 worth of Solana. That's what I'll do sometimes. I'll go, I'll get a little Cardano, see where this goes. And I end up being like, what am I doing?
Do you like to gamble?
No, I only play craps. And the reason I play craps alone, I don't play blackjack, I don't play anything. I don't play poker. The reason I like to play craps is because it's the only game that has an edge against the house, Bitcoin, and it's a community. So I pay the money to be there with all these people because when you're winning, everyone's winning. When you're losing, everybody's losing. And if somebody bets against the shooter, everybody hates that person and hopes that they lose. And then when they lose, everyone's like, yeah! And then that person is like, damn it. And they have to sort of sulk away, right? So I don't like gambling to make money, really. But I get excited about blockchains that could be a layer 2 to Ethereum that you can build off of. And then right now I'm working with these guys at Doge OS, and they're building a layer 2 that they like to say is a layer 1.5, but it's brilliant. They're building an operating system that is on the Doge blockchain, which is the second oldest blockchain because it was made right after Bitcoin to make fun of Bitcoin. I'm in the business of comedy. I don't know if anyone knows this, but I have a day job. Just as a movie star and comedian kind of thing. I do a little voiceover work every so often. Where's my camera? And so that's really interesting to me. I'm not going to buy Doge necessarily. I have some, but I'm not going to buy as much Doge as I possibly can. But I am interested in the blockchain space, and that's why I've always liked you is you are like heavy Bitcoin, but you're talking about the digital connection. Well, would you tell me what you do?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast is aimed at sort of explaining how to market and do PR in this crazy industry. And I think you bring a really unique perspective. We were initially introduced because we were on a podcast or on a panel at the Bitcoin conference together about media and how media is, talking about Bitcoin, introducing Bitcoin. And so I think your perspective is really interesting, and you have a really good point about like comedy. How do we make this more mainstream? How do we make this more fun and stop talking to each other to this weird little group that we find ourselves in and like bring it more mainstream?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that does really, I'm flabbergasted. I love that word. I'm flabbergasted by is sort of I'm the only person. So we kind of...
You're the only person?
I'm sort of the only celebrity or comedian or anyone like me that is in this world. And it's been that way for like a couple of years now.
Well, we lived through FTX collapse.
Yeah, which
and
was...
and a lot of celebrities put their face on...
But that's not Bitcoin.
Correct.
So they were doing NFTs, and that's what scared them away because they just don't understand that that's a completely different thing that's built on Ethereum. And meme coins, and they were also doing the NFTs. They didn't understand anything behind them. I filmed the first comedy special as an NFT, and then FTX collapsed like right before I was going to bring that to market, which is another lesson I think people have to learn in this world is you have to make it through those moments where you think, well, I was just about to sell because I was like, you know what? I could really get a house. That's the time. And then it just collapses and you can't be like, fuck this thing, fuck this world. I'm fucking selling all of it. I need to go back into stocks. It is wrought with disappointment or rife with disappointment or neither.
But overall, you're winning.
Overall, you're winning if you don't sell. People go, oh man, you must be in a bad place right now. And I go, you don't lose any money if you don't sell. The only time you lose any money in Bitcoin is if you put money into Bitcoin that you need to be able to get back immediately, if there's some sort of situation like that. But some people, I mean, I haven't done this, but I know people who, if they're in a position where they need money and Bitcoin is where it is right now or something like that, then they'll take out a loan, you know, and they'll just try and ride through. If they can get, you know, through this year or whatever it's going to take, then they would rather not sort of take a hit, just a cratering hit right now. I mean, right now as we are perhaps at the bottom, everyone's hoping. I still love the idea of
we never know.
This is a pullback. I love when people just keep telling themselves like, hey man, we're all, if you're in Bitcoin, you're used to a 25% pullback. Yeah, it's on sale. Then you go, well, we've had many 30% pullbacks. This happened before. And now right now it's like a 50% pullback is normal. That's a normal thing in Bitcoin. If you look at past charts, okay, anyone can draw allusion to something in history, but what I'm seeing now more is like Bitcoin newsletters are having they're forking off to, I love Milk Road. This is Milk Road macro. We're talking about macroeconomics right now and how that affects so now the Bitcoin community is understanding more that this is going to be when Trump is like, we're the Bitcoin country, then everything kind of goes up. But then if a war happens, that changes the landscape completely. So I think when we first met, that was the question that everybody had. And at these conferences, which was, why are you here, T.J. Miller? Is it because of Silicon Valley? Did they hire you to kind of walk around and bark at people and say lines from the TV show? And very quickly when I talked to them and when I talked to you, I hope you also, people are just puzzled. They're like, how do you know so much about this? Why would you do this?
It's incredible how much you know. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really fun. And what we were talking about, what I was talking about is I have an idea for a movie that's about a Bitcoin heist. I would love to do like a Netflix travel documentary where I go to places like El Salvador, but also, Mara or giant mining communities here. I'd love to do, because things like that need to sort of happen. And you sort of alluded to this. There's this echo chamber that we're all living in and we're talking to each other. And the people that will, listen to this podcast will be primarily Bitcoiners. And then if they pass it on to somebody else and go, this is a great episode, check this out. A lot of people just kind of go, I don't know what that is. Why would I spend time?
How do we get people to do that though? Because I feel like you make it fun. You make it approachable. We did a comedy event last November. It was so well attended.
Yeah.
And the reason you're so funny too in this space particularly is because you know so much. So you can really go there with your jokes.
Yeah. And you can do the inside baseball, but you can also make fun of the people and be self-deprecating.
Yes.
And I think the main hurdle to get over is for whatever reason, everybody who's like a civilian, which I think you
civilian?
guys call it normies. What's the Bitcoin community call people that are not in the community?
I don't know.
Noobs. I think normies. Some people. What do you think it is? Normies. In comedy, we call them civilians. So if you don't do stand-up comedy, you're a civilian. So like you're a civilian. You're a civilian. Yeah. You're, I think, actually a criminal. Patrick, the producer. I mean, this is highway robbery as far as the studio rental fee. Just kidding, it's free. But well, you can pay in Bitcoin.
You brought us a pillow, okay?
Yeah,
can we give credit to the pillow?
Would you hold it with me? Powers, I love Powers. Bitcoin. Powers.
Most newswire platforms were built for a different era of PR. Mass distribution, bloated pricing, coverage that looks impressive but rarely delivers real visibility. BITWIRE was built to change that. We give modern PR teams direct access to curated Tier 1 publishers that actually reach your audience, from leading crypto and business outlets to global financial media. Instead of blasting your news everywhere, BITWIRE focuses on quality distribution that builds credibility, authority, and search visibility through real placements and permanent links. Every distribution includes guaranteed publication, so you know exactly where your story will appear with no uncertainty and no wasted spend. Our platform lets you create and distribute a press release in minutes through a clean, intuitive workflow designed by PR professionals who understand what's at stake every time you hit publish. With fast turnaround times, your announcement moves quickly from submission to live coverage, helping you stay ahead of fast-moving markets and news cycles. No confusing subscriptions, no unnecessary spend. Just transparent, a la carte pricing so you can choose exactly where your news appears and scale as you grow. And when you need support, our team delivers unparalleled customer service at every step, from submission through publication, ensuring your release runs smoothly and successfully. Because today, it's not about sending your news everywhere. It's about placing it where it matters. BITWIRE, your news amplified.
I think the issue is that people still think that Bitcoin is crazy. Last night was with one of the guys from Anchorage and a Forbes crypto writer and Jared Wynn, and they were at a show, and so I wanted to tell people. Oh, and he was also the head of Consensus, the sort of blockchain conference, and I had them all, and I said to them, I go, watch this, and I asked the audience, I go, how many people have Bitcoin? How many people have cryptocurrency? And when I said Bitcoin, it was more than I'd ever seen. I've been doing that for years in my stand-ups. Occasionally I go, hey, how many people in here have any crypto? Okay, how many Bitcoiners? Who owns Bitcoin? And I would go places, I mean, we're in New York right now, but I would go places like Appleton, Wisconsin. It is silence. You've got hundreds of people, silence. And then one show out of 5, I just heard, and I go, amazing. So after everybody leaves, that guy and his girlfriend were waiting to say hello to me. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe you talked about Bitcoin. And I said, because in New York, well, I'll double back to that. And I said, yeah, I can't believe that you are a Bitcoiner here. And he's like, I'm so deep into Bitcoin, I can't even tell you. And he had this sweet girlfriend. They'd been together for a couple of years, and I could tell she was just being so patient. She loved him so much, but she knew that he was about to talk to me for hours about Bitcoin. And we went through it, and he explained it all. He really was like, I forget who he said he got orange pilled by. And I was like, you might be one of the people that is most into Bitcoin. And I am huge in this world. Like, I know many people. And he goes, yeah, I think I might be probably one of the people that's most into it. And I was like, I mean, and I know some heavy duty, like I know Michael Saylor, and he's like, the other day I told my therapist that I thought Satoshi was Jesus Christ. It was Jesus that made Bitcoin. And I was like, whoop, you are the biggest into Bitcoin of anybody I've ever met. You're the craziest Bitcoiner. But imagine that guy trying to spread the gospel. In Appleton, Wisconsin. Everybody's like, this person is insane. And so the hurdle that we have to get over, and last night I said, how many people in here own Bitcoin? The most I'd ever seen. It was like 8 people.
Really?
10 people, maybe 12. And then I said, who has Ethereum? Less people, obviously. and who owns an NFT, and it was even sort of less people. A year or two ago, it was a lot more people, but now they've all sold it. Or you should see these white guys they'd be like, I have crypto. I'd be like, what crypto? What's the portfolio? And they'll be like, I forget. I don't. And I'm like, oh, I remember. Sometimes when I lose cash in my apartment, I don't know where it is. I don't look for it. I'm just not aware of it. Maybe I'll come across it another day. But the real hurdle is, how do we stop sounding insane to our families? And part of it is the volatility. And it will be when I'm not doing well. I had actually the guys from PubKey, they said an amazing thing when it hit an all-time high. I was like, this is incredible, you guys. This is so amazing. And I was like, on the verge of crying. I was just like, I couldn't believe how great this was. And they said, we really prefer it when it's a bear market. And I was like, what? Why? And they're like, because then people can be like making fun of us, and that's a more comfortable space. And I realized these guys, I think, have a lot of Bitcoin. And I realized that, and this is what happens with my family, is I'll have Bitcoin, I'll talk about it when it's sort of, probably when it'll be like at 90 or 100,000, whenever that happens again. And I'll talk about it, they'll ask about it, and like, you still have Bitcoin, right? I'll go, yeah. And then when it sort of goes down, people will be like, ooh, I saw the market, it's a bummer, right? And then when it's way down, nobody talks about it because they think that I've just lost all of my money on this scheme, right? And then when it goes back up, they're like, oh, yeah, I saw it was getting better. And then if it goes to an all-time high or something, like when it was over 100 already, I think people in my family are like, why didn't I listen to him? That's what happens.
That's what always happens to everybody.
They go, ha, I'm glad I didn't get in Bitcoin. Look how much you lost. And then when it goes up, instead of laughing at you, they're now resentful of you that somehow you didn't convince them enough to buy Bitcoin. They want to think of it that way, not be mad at themselves for not listening to you. And so that's a dynamic that makes it very difficult. And I think it's more about, the only way to do it is about figuring out how to explain it or give somebody an entry point. And my thing now is, I'll send you $5 worth of Bitcoin on your Venmo. I think Venmo's been really helpful. Or Cash App, obviously. And
this is a great idea because that's how someone got me hooked.
Really?
A decade ago, it was Coinbase at the time, but yes.
Yeah, and so
$5, and then you're like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. But I'll sometimes now, I haven't done this much lately, but I say, I'll send you $5 worth of Bitcoin. Or you can do the other way around, but if you put $20, if you buy $20 worth of Bitcoin, because then they have a little bit of money and they can see it go up and down, but there's no skin off their back. And then that's the way to kind of get them into dollar cost averaging. And so just DCA $5 a week. And I only have been able to get one guy, this guy that I tour with in comedy. I've only been able to get him to understand and say, I put like $10 in a day here and there, $100 at the end of the week if it makes sense. And he buys it no matter where it is. But now he sees it less as, oh, my $500 is now $100. He understands now to be like, this is great. Now, if I buy $5 more, then when it goes back up, that's going to be worth. So the economics and the volatility prove very challenging. And I think it's that's one of the things that I'm doing. And then I do want to just make it more approachable. But it seems, if you notice this, even if you're like, it's like digital gold. They're like, but gold is gold. Why would we need gold to be digital? And you're like, well, then you don't have to like physically. And then all of a sudden we fall into this trap of, we know everything about it. We're going to tell them all that we know about it. They didn't want to hear everything that we had. So I think it's also about Bitcoiners trying to dumb down their explanation of it and figure out how to. But I told my father, I go, read the Bitcoin Standard. He's a voracious reader. So he read it, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, well, I understand it. I just don't know that it, there's nothing really
I read
backing
the bullish case for Bitcoin, and I was like, this is it. This is the piece of the material that is going to change everybody's mind and lives. And
I haven't read that yet.
It's what Michael Saylor initially read that like got him excited.
Really?
Yes. And now he's in the preamble. But I gave it to my dad, who's a voracious reader too. And same reaction. Like, okay, I guess I get the economic. So I don't know. There's something about Bitcoiners that just get it. But my question is, how do we fix this problem?
Yeah. Well, we're kind of talking about it right now. And I think we're both sort of, as usual, realizing like, well, it didn't quite work. My father had a good point, which is this isn't for me. So this can't be particularly interesting to him because he's 81. He's done quite well with traditional equities. He's a guy who knows about bonds but he primarily has stocks. And to him, the ones that pay dividends are the only ones that are important to him. And he has a lot of, I think his retirement income sort of is stock dividends. So to him, he's like, I understand why somebody in their 20s or 30s or 40s would kind of get it and be excited about it and be able to see a real future with it. But to him, it's kind of, that's a cool concept. And then I don't know what the deal is with like Gen Z or whatever, or younger millennials. I don't know why they're not getting it. And a lot of them, I think, are just getting into the trap of just becoming degens and saying, I had a business manager who got fired, I think, where he left, and he would never do anything we asked him to do. He was such a frustrating...
Is this at Radio Shack?
Yeah, it's at Radio Shack. He was my business manager. He's currently works at Radio Shack. I haven't told him that it's no longer business. But he didn't really want to talk to me about anything that involved me needing him to get something done. But he would talk to me for hours about cryptocurrency. And it was none of it was Bitcoin. He owned a little Bitcoin, kind of almost as I know this is a safer, but to him, he wanted to 100x. He was sure that somehow he would get to, that was the dream.
You have to play the long game.
Yeah, because it's not interesting to those people. And then it is gambling, because then if he does 10x on something, he sells it, he parties, he goes crazy, and then he uses whatever the profit was to like, try and buy more coins. I think it was meme coins a little bit now. People are back into DeFi and what are the DeFi projects that are going to... So I work in that world too. I work in the blockchain world. I've been approached to do meme coins. They call them utility tokens if they're trying to get you... I was about to do an AI agent program before the agentic economy started being a word that people would use. And they were trying to token lock me to a point where they could rug the project. And so that's still so much a part of that world. And Bitcoin, there's no possible way to do that. So you're so much safer with the investment. But yeah, I think you got young kids. I mean, it's as crazy as I usually win. I do one sports bet a year, and that's on the Super Bowl. So I can like get into it. And I usually win because I have a friend who's a professional gambler. And I'll do my research. But I won this year. I was at his place. We were having so much fun, and we were so drunk. It was not a lot of money, And I put that money. I was just there. It's the worst thing you can do. But I had won. Everybody's happy. And then all the lines come in for next year's Super Bowl. And I thought the Broncos would have won and I'm from Denver, if their quarterback didn't get hurt. And I was like, they're definitely going to win it next year. I'm probably like, especially after this game. So I took the money that I had won and I put it on the Broncos to win the Super Bowl next year. And it's like, no idea if they'll win, it's very possible they won't. But if they win, I put just not a lot of money, but the lines were such that if they win next year, I will win $58,000. We'll
play this clip.
Please do. Yeah, if they lose, that'll be so sad. But that's to me the mentality of people in the cryptocurrency space that are younger. And so Bitcoin already, I think, is starting to feel like the cryptocurrency for the old folks. Not completely, but it's just, I think that younger people should be thinking about Bitcoin. And part of it is onboarding. So I think Cash App and Venmo in Cash App, you can only buy Bitcoin. You can't buy anything else. And so those are helpful, but the more accessible Coinbase and especially DeFi exchanges and stuff. And then we also got screwed. We, meaning not you and I, but the Bitcoin community and the Bitcoin mission statement when all of these Kalshi and then Gemini went this route, and the predictions market, which is just like gambling on anything, that sort of bulldozed its way in because that's how these exchanges can make more money. And it's just encouraging more gambling instead of more intelligence.
In a way, it's a good use case of the technology, though.
In terms of?
Like the underlying tech for prediction markets, like crypto powers it, blockchains power it, like fair, marketplaces. But
the problem is, I think that it's like going to a casino and getting tokens.
Yeah.
Nobody's interested in how the tokens are made. Or gambling chips, sorry. You see, even I can't not say token. But really, you go to a casino, they give you chips. No one goes, how do you press the plastic for these? And it seems like you get the logo of the casino on there, but it's not a sticker. Is it laser printed on there? Because it doesn't really rub off, and people must use them. How many do you go through? No one's asking that. They just go, here's money. That's money. Here's money. I lost money. Here's the money that I kept. Thank you for that money. And that's it. That's the only thing that's going on. So I fear that you're right. It's a use case, but does it help the overall understanding of Bitcoin?
Yeah. So why do you keep showing up at all these conferences? I feel like you're in
short
Singapore.
Rib, and the prime rib is a solid A-.
You roasted Justin's son. That was, and I was there for that in the room.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
I was the one person going, yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I mean, it was hilarious, but like half the crowd didn't know how. Like he has such a posse that was in the front row, like 4 rows deep of his people who like worship him. Yeah, and they were just kind of deer in headlights. They didn't know what to do with you.
I know, it was so funny, and he loved it. We knew that he would.
He loved it.
And I met with him, and then we had dinner with him, and we went to this like late night art gallery party with him, and he has these like ninja bodyguards around him at all times, and it's just, that's a very weird thing to see. And
is that what keeps you coming back? The amazing community.
What? The
amazing community. That's why you keep.
Just keep coming back for these Asian criminals. That's all I want to be around. No, that I thought was funny because I'm trying to get into the idea of roasting like a consensus. I think I'm going to roast somebody, and we haven't approached them, but there are some crypto personalities that will be there, and they are personalities. And I think roasting people is a good way of keeping the crypto world in check in terms of their arrogance, and kind of helping them remember how ridiculous all of this is. So that's kind of why I went to Singapore. And then at Token and then Korea Blockchain Week, I went sort of with the Doge OS guys because that tech is interesting to me, but it's also very tied and related to comedy and satire. So those two things. And then this year at the Bitcoin conference, they kind of, I saw some of those guys at the event that we were at, but I might have seen them somewhere else. But they were cool, and they were like, are you coming back? Like, we'd love to have you.
Oh, good, you're coming?
The thing is, though, I have this day job. It's so weird. But I'm interested in it. I actually kind of like it. It's pretty fun. And so I do have to balance how much I'm doing what I love, which is comedy, and then kind of having fun in that world. And so sometimes it's tough, but like I would go back in a heartbeat if I could do, something. The white whale, and I've talked to him about it, and he said he was open to it. That's all I'm saying. Just, as an aside, he said, I could see that, maybe some point down the line. But would be to roast Michael Saylor. Because that would be, and he's very funny, I think. And so, have you had him on the show?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you will. But he is funny, and he like gets it, and he's one of the best. He's the best ambassador for it. He's the best at explaining it, everything. He's the true Bitcoin celebrity and, messiah almost. Although he would definitely not describe himself that way, but that to me would be amazing because
he has an answer to everything, which is so impressive. Like,
it's so impressive.
Rebuttal any.
Yeah. He's truly a genius. But to sort of make fun of him, that is, I think, something that could go a little viral because it's me and open it up to other people. And I know that his rebuttal, first of all, he'll destroy me, I'm positive. But if we have some comedians and maybe some people in the crypto industry, like you would be great on the dais to get up and kind of do jokes and make fun of how male heavy this world is. And also just talk about, that he has an answer for everything, but no one can figure out whether, why he's buying these yachts and he's just renting them out, stuff like that. That's really fun. But it's like, I would like to do that to have, again, the industry needs to take itself less seriously, because when we take ourselves so seriously, it's impossible for anyone to break in. And it's still too much of a club. It's still, people still like to say, one of the great dichotomies in the Bitcoin world is we're only at 1% adoption. I mean, we're just so close. Mass adoption hasn't even happened yet. We're not even close. And then they'll kind of turn around and go, these idiots don't understand. They're never going to really understand Bitcoin or get it. I mean, only we can really understand it. I'm going, well, what's the situation here? It was like when the ETFs came out and part of the community got really mad and was like, now, BlackRock and all these people are involved and all this money that's not from, I guess, retail or, and now this institutional investments. I go, how do you think this is going to happen? What do you want to have happen? Do you want Bitcoin to be something that everybody understands and uses? Or do you want it to forever be this like niche place that you and the other club people are? And it took the ETFs and BlackRock to push the price to where it was. And my theory right now is that we're in a moment where retail kind of ran out of money or diversified enough that they didn't have the huge, sway to be able to have the price move, to have a lot of price action. But they got smarter. Then the ETFs came in, the institutional investors, and I think this is really an incredible theory. BlackRock and these huge institutions, they didn't understand Bitcoin really. And so the volatility, and with all these clients, it would slide like 10,000 and they'd go, oh, that's great. And they'd make a bunch of money and they'd sell it. And they'd be like, this is amazing. And then it'd go down and they'll go much higher than they sold it. They're like, God damn it, motherfucker. What am I doing? So they were still trying to play the market instead of understanding, as you put it, the long game. So I think we're one more cycle away from them kind of getting it, and then we'll get a little bit more stability. But that's what I thought was going to happen last time. And this is not a indication of a stable market right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely don't have a crystal ball because I wouldn't have predicted this.
I would not. There's no way. I thought when it was headed to 100,000, I was like, I get it. I get what's happening right now. It's gotten just high enough that people are like, all right, this is it. We got to take the money where it is. We can't wait for it to get to 150. I've waited for that before. That's that. And then when it dipped below 100, I was like, oh no. Now we've got people that for sure think this is over. This is the end. And now that it's at 70,000, it's just like heartbreaking. And all the money dries up and all the things that I was going to do and all the people that I think would have gotten excited about it if it had just gone from 121 to 110. And then
how do we get people excited about things other than the price?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, how do you make the mission statement work, and that this is the best time to get in? This, if you want entry into Bitcoin, this is the time to do it. And I feel like there's still people that are like either, well, it's so expensive, or it'll go lower and then I'll get in. And I think the way to get people excited without there needs to be like a book, if you want to co-author it with me, called like dollar cost averaging, the Bitcoin philosophy.
I'm in.
And it needs to be this idea of, and it should be written in a way that isn't I met a guy at one of the Bitcoin conferences. I think it was in Nashville, actually. And he had made a children's book about Bitcoin. And I understood it. But it's like parents don't want to teach their kids about Bitcoin unless they're crazy Bitcoiners. But we kind of need this handbook that is easy to read. And maybe I should write something about it because people could go, oh, T.J. Miller from Silicon Valley. It needs to be a book that's like 60 pages long. I was about to say 90, but I'm like 60 pages long.
Well, I think that's the magic of what you have made Bitcoin more approachable without dumbing it down.
Yeah,
and you've gone down the rabbit hole. You also have a wife who's a Bitcoin maxi.
Yeah, she is.
A little
we
bit
haven't
about
talked enough about her.
Yeah. So first of all, how did you get? I mean, she was obviously there. You mentioned with
what a great segue. She's a real pro.
She is a pro. Oh, I was talking about Kate. Kate's a pro.
About you and your boots, your cowboy boots. So Kate kind of, she started to learn about it through me, then started to do her research. And it was interesting. It's almost like I wish more people could be like her because she couldn't sit here and explain the problem of a double spend. She can't that wouldn't be something that,
I couldn't either, by the way.
Yeah. Well, or what is the encryption and how, and as far as decentralization, she understands the concept, but she doesn't understand why miners and, I wouldn't even really want to talk about like hash rate or something. But she understood enough about it, especially the financial liberty that it affords women in other countries. That was like a big, big selling point for her. I think that's, I don't care for that type of stuff. I'm still in 1940s. I say, if you got a Bitcoin, put it in the frying pan, fry it up for a sandwich. No, but I think that speaks to a lot of people is what if you could have money that was your own, and if you were able to get out of the country, it was there waiting for you. And that's a concept that not many people even think about. Now it's to people.
That's going in your book.
Yes. In the first world, those seem like third world problems, but it's just, that was really important to her and she understood that. And then she liked the idea of like the Bitcoin, the idea is so pure. And so she started saying, it's like Chanel. But vintage Chanel, it's never truly going to lose its value if you hold on to it, And when the time comes, you might be able to sell it for a little less or a little more, but it remains, and for guys, it's like buying a Rolex. It is money. You can go and you can get money for it. If you keep it, it'll be worth more money or maybe a little less, but it is money. And so she's a maxi because when it came time to talk to her about buying Ethereum, she goes, why would you buy Pepsi when you can buy Coke? And that's her favorite. And Michael Saylor loves that. He's prompted her to say it a couple of times. But so she understood it from sort of her perspective. And maybe that's what we need to do is say, learn enough that you get it and you have a metaphor for what Bitcoin is that like applies or relates to your life. But that's when she sort of became a maxi, is when she was like, why would you spend money on anything else? If you're in the blockchain space, Bitcoin is what you should be tied to because it's financially sound, it's hard money or whatever. And then the philosophy behind it is true and good, and it gives people freedom, and it affords so many other things besides, like you said, the price. Like, how do we get people to understand that it's not about the price? I think the philosophy of dollar cost averaging is invest in this thing because you know that it's good, and that instead of trying to think about the price, or you're buying Bitcoin, you're going to hold on to it because it already happened at the last. People waiting and. How do you say his last name? Jack Mallers. He needs to clean that last name up. He can borrow mine, Miller. Jack Miller is actually a good name for him. He kind of looks like a Jack Miller, but Jack Mallers kind of finally presented, he goes, well, now I have a way for you to borrow against your Bitcoin so you don't have to sell it. I think that's another thing to try and tell people is it's a limited supply, which Kate loves to.
That's what I lead with usually.
How do you?
There's only 21 million of them.
Yeah.
You have to understand the concept of scarcity in order to understand the
and everybody understands the concept of scarcity, because if you want to buy a concert ticket, you better get it before other people, because once it sells out, they can't make new tickets. The seats are done. It's over. I should use that. I've never really used that one. But yeah, you don't want to get rid of the Bitcoin. You want to buy and you want to hold on to it. And now, currently, but in the next couple of years, there'll be a big business of we'll charge you the least amount of interest, and we won't sell your Bitcoin. We won't put it. We're going to make money off of the interest so that you have money. And then when you want your Bitcoin back, which we've never sold, then you just get it back immediately because you've been paying us. We've been making money while you've been using the Bitcoin money. And I think that's going to be a big thing for people. And then obviously these places will become almost digital asset treasuries, because the Bitcoin that they do keep, because people couldn't, the pawn shop mentality, they're not going to spend that Bitcoin because they already have a business model in place. But it was funny too to see the market crater right as everybody got on the sailor train and said, we're all a digital asset. We're going to borrow money to buy Bitcoin and just hoard the Bitcoin. And that's what we're going to do. And they didn't have the strategy, the company, they didn't have because he was already sort of a company in the equity world. So, but that was kind of rough to see. But I thought it was funny that Tom Lee, it's almost like it took him so long to be like, wait a second, nobody's done this with Ethereum. I guess I'll do that. But so the DAT world still feels like it kind of exists, but right now is a tough time to be in this world. What do you think of right now? What's going to happen right now? What can we do that will help our cause right now with Bitcoin at 70,000?
I think we all need to, because I'm in the storytelling and messaging, narrative building space. I think we all need to work on, the messaging and the elevator pitch. I think, the Kate Miller quote is, why would and meet your audience where you're at. And I'm curious, and I know we have to wrap up here, but what, how do you keep it light, fun, and then have people ask you more questions? Because you could go down the rabbit hole so far with people, but you need to meet them where they're at. What have you had the most success with in terms of getting people interested and hooked in the beginning?
Well, I think you're right. It's meeting a person where they are is probably the most important thing. So knowing that when their eyes are starting to glaze over, to sort of stop. I think buying someone Bitcoin and almost seeing that as some weird religious. I mean, they say that we're a cult, obviously, but buying someone Bitcoin almost be seen as an investment in religion. These Jewish guys that are like, you Jewish? Let me do a prayer for you, And they're out there and they're not making money. They're not asking for any money. And they just are trying to spread the word. And so I think in some ways giving a little bit of money to somebody to say, come into this world, because $5, they're not really going to sell that.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. So you're bringing me back. So I think that this is great advice. That's where we should start, and then answer the questions. And I love the book idea. I love the content ideas. I love the roast idea. I'm excited to see where this all leads us.
Yeah, I think it's what I'm trying to build is sort of a normalize, bringing the culture of comedy into it, doing stand-up about Bitcoin, making that kind of funny, roasting people in that world. Those are all normal parts of human culture right now. I love, for whatever reason, the way I said that made me drool. But, trying to do normal human things in this world makes it more approachable.
Yes.
It makes it more of everybody knows what a roast is. Everybody has seen stand-up of all different themes and subject matter. And people love movies, and they love heist movies, and they love travel series and all those types of things. And so I feel like the more I do that, and really the thing that I can use more than anything else is, how famous I am. So the Silicon Valley ended up being the strangest link because we started off making fun of that world. And then, but it got me the connections. That's how I met the Winklevoss twins, for me to go in. And then in this world, I'm very famous to these people because of Silicon Valley, but it gives me this great artillery, or just this sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, but I can fucking make fun of these people to their face. It's amazing. And they're kind of like, whoa, I got roasted by Erlich Bachman. He said the idea for the startup is so stupid. It's already been done 5 different ways, and those 5 failed. Like, what a guy. But because I have carte blanche, I guess would be what I just don't like using French terms or words. Okay? And I don't know why. Maybe it's that je ne sais quoi about me. Menage a un. So I think I have this carte blanche to just say whatever the fuck I want to say, and people listen to it. And so I think I just want to keep making it more mainstream by being the most mainstream person in the space.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because Michael Saylor's a fucking genius. He's almost godlike in the Bitcoin world. I've like fallen asleep to interviews of him because he's just so hopeful and so smart. But Michael Saylor can't go, he won't have anybody ask to take a picture at a Starbucks. I don't go into a Starbucks, but if I did, people would want to take pictures. It is, people know who I am. And so me talking about Bitcoin, and I think the other thing is, this is the first time that the market is cratered, and I've said, this actually is as good a time as any. And I didn't feel that last time. I felt like it had to be on the rise to be able to get people excited about it. And right now I'm kind of talking about, and I think blockchain as a larger technology and crypto community has helped me with that, because they are not, to them, this is not that big of a deal. It's, they've shaken, whoever was monkeying around in the tree, and they're out of there. And now only serious investors, only serious founders, only serious startups with sound tech and like a mission statement, those are the only people that are trying to keep raising money and being a part of this. And the big players like Anchorage, are the people that they have the money to be able to keep funding these people, because their idea is this startup company is going to be really, really, successful in 3 years, in 4 years. So we don't know what the fuck the market's going to be then. So who cares? And so now I feel like it's more important than ever for me to go, and when I proselytize about Bitcoin, to have that in my mind, that like, think about the long game, and almost to say like, well, if you believed in a business, you would think it's going to go on for 10 years, 20 years, right? I mean, you're not just going to hope that the economy's going great exactly when you, and so that's something I've been thinking about as well. But it's people like you that help shape the narrative and help, make it. I loved your panel at ETH Denver, where you said, we need to make this like cogent. And you didn't use such a stupid word, but just you have to make it about the founder. You have to make it, it's got to be the right way of presenting the information, presenting what the company is about. And I'm not going to say that you said this, but you did have a really funny kind of, veiled comment about, and some of these people who are founders are very specific type of people. And so you got to really wrap your head around that. And that's really important too, that if you've got Vitalik and, some of these people that are just geniuses, but they're not showy, flashy, get up and Steve Jobs it in front of all these sort of nerds, then you really have to figure out how to present people, how to really, I love when you say to shape the narrative, to give people and to meet people where they're at. I love that you say that too.
Well, people want to trust other people, and you have such a solid platform, and people do trust you. People flock to you. So thank you on behalf of this wild industry for being our champion. And thank you to the industry
for being something incredible that I can champion. And I think one thing, I have this very famous clip of me talking to this kid in cargo pants, and it's very funny. Has like 30 million hits or something.
Cut to the clip.
And cut to the clip. You're wearing cargo pants. What kind of cargo are you rolling with? What are you carrying? What's your freight?
I just enjoy cargo pants like all the time. So even though I do not carry anything here in the pockets, but I just enjoy cargo pants.
I want you guys to know that I am not going to make fun of him at all. So there was definitely a moment where I was like, this is just going to be a listening portion of the show. We're all going to take a moment to just learn about this gentleman's life. And then we're going to move on to the next part of the show. But not before complimenting him and saying, you know what? I like wearing things just because they feel comfortable also. You know? And what it does is, I think the reason people like it is I'm very kind. But he sort of is, he appears to be developmentally challenged. I asked him about the cargo pants. And afterwards, there's this pause and everybody's like, what is TJ going to do? And my response is really funny and it's really well timed, but it's really kind. And I think that's one of the things that I can bring to this world is if there's any sharpness to it, which there is a little bit, and it involves money and people becoming rich and becoming poor, and just there's a lot of sharpness to it. And I think if you can make it seem not only approachable but kind, that Bitcoin can do this, that we wanted to make opportunities for these people, and this is the way a business can thrive, and this is how a woman in Saudi Arabia can finally get away from her abusive situation and partner and whatever. I love that I said partner. It would be husband in Saudi Arabia. We are not in Chelsea, Manhattan, and New York City. It would be a male partner who is threatening to kill her consistently, and if he does, he will not receive any repercussions. But the fact that it can do that, there's a real kindness to Bitcoin, and we say Bitcoin is freedom. You know, that's kind of
Bitcoin is hope.
Bitcoin is hope. So let's hope that we can get more and more people into it for the right reasons. This has been T.J. Miller and Kelley Weaver. Bitcoin power, dollar cost averaging.
Thanks for tuning in to Proof of PR. This episode was brought to you by BITWIRE.com, the modern newswire reimagined for today's comms professionals. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen today. To stay up to date on upcoming guests and news, visit proofofpr.com or follow us on Twitter @ProofofPR. Until next time, keep learning, innovating, and hodling.